Imagine this. Your party has just entered an ancient crypt. The air is thick, there is dust covering everything, and the flickering torchlight barely illuminates your path. Now, what really brings that moment to life? It's the music and sound effects, all those things that are drawing you in, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Some of the best places to find music and sound effects to up-level your D&D campaigns. And stick around because at the end, I'm going to give you some pro tips about how to sync those music and sound effects to up-level your campaign like a pro. Let's do it. Music and sound design in D&D are more than just background noise. Trust me, they set the tone, they build tension, and immerse your players into the world. And if you're a DM, you have spent so much time on this world, and we want your players to be fully immersed. So whether that means eerie whispers of a haunted forest, or the clang of steel on steel in battle, or the peaceful tunes of a bustling tavern, the right music makes all the difference. And the best part is you don't have to be a professional sound designer to make your sessions more cinematic and more immersive. Now, where do you find the best music and sound effects for your sessions? And is it going to cost you an arm and a leg? I've got options there for you. Trust me. In fact, I've got 3 incredible options. First, I want to tell you what I focused on, because there are so many places that you can find music and sound effects for your D&D games, but I went with a more long-form loop scenario, so that if you're playing live and you just want the ambiance, you can hit play and let it go. The other one was a more cinematic, music-driven that does have sound effects embedded into that. And then lastly, a more customizable, adding sound effects over music and being able to stop and start that as you please, so that if you want to customize it to best fit your sessions, you can. First up, we're going to talk about tabletop audio. Tabletop audio is a goldmine for dungeon masters. It offers a huge collection of ambient tracks that are designed specifically for tabletop gaming. So let's check out a couple samples. As you can tell, whether you need the sound of a mysterious swamp, a bustling medieval tavern, or an intense battlefield, it's all here. And the best part is it's completely free. If you're at home, sitting around the table with your best friends playing D&D, and you want to create that immersive effect through sound, Tabletop Audio lets you do it for free, and their website's awesome. There's other features that you can use there as well. Now for the money part. If you have a podcast and you would like to use Tabletop Audio, or you have a Twitch stream, YouTube stream, whatever, that is where the cost comes in. You can join the Patreon. They have tiers, and then there's other stipulations like thanking Tabletop Audio during your stream or on your podcast to let people know where the audio came from. And for $10 a month, this collection, that's unheard of. Incredible. We've used Tabletop Audio for a long time with the 20 Sides podcast. You'll hear it at the end of every episode. Thank you, Tabletop Audio, for the backing tracks, because it's fantastic. Tabletop Audio, that's number 1. Definitely check that out. The second one we're going to talk about is Monument Studios. If you're looking for high quality cinematic soundtracks for your campaign, this is it. This is the place. They specialize in orchestral music that sounds like it came straight out of a movie. Let's hear what a battle scene could sound like with one of their tracks. This is perfect for a boss fight, dramatic encounter, emotional moments. It is a paid service. The quality and depth of their music makes it absolutely worth it. You can buy things a la carte, and some of them, starting as low as $19.99 and working their way up for the different collections that they provide. Or they have their Fantasy Plus, which is $5 a month, and it's a lot more interactive, allows you to kind of jump around. Now, again, with this being this cinematic quality and the epicness that it provides, you can't beat it. Monument Studios is incredible. We've actually been using them for campaign 2 of the 20 Sides podcast, and we have loved every second of it. All right, number 3 is Syrinscapes. If you want full-on interactive sound design, this is your best bet. Syrinscape lets you layer sounds in real time, creating a completely dynamic experience. Check this out. This is the ultimate tool for immersion. There is a free version, but for full access to this massive library, they do have subscription options. You can choose a certain library, and it starts at like $7 a month for that, or you can go the full-fledged everything for, I think it's like $12 a month for that. For this amount of options and customization, those are great prices. Like, you can't, it's really good. And again, to be able to customize this to be what you want it to be, when you want it to be, and how you want it to be, that's worth it. All right, if you're enjoying this so far, I've got something I want you to do. Drop a comment below and tell me what kind of music fits your campaign best. Is it dark and brooding? Is it lighthearted and adventurous? I'd love to hear what kind of music you would use. Or if you have a service that hasn't been mentioned here that you find just incredible and you just have to share it with the world, drop that below. Now that you know where to find the music, let's talk tips for how to sync that up to your game best, or just best practices in general. This first one, it's going to seem like common sense, but I'm going to say it anyways. Match the music to the scene. If you are in a bustling tavern, you probably don't want an epic war drum vibe coming from your music or your sound effects. It's going to miss. If you're doing this all live, it can be easy to let those things roll over and kind of miss the mark, which leads us to the second tip, which is prepare your playlist in advance, if at all possible. That's very easy if you are working through a book or a storyline that's already prepared. You can kind of do that. As a DM, sometimes players decide to go all over the place, and so you may have to adjust and jump around. But if you have a playlist prepared, it's a lot easier to jump around than it is to then try to find something else that fits the current scenario. Also, use loops wisely. Loops are fantastic when you're live at the table and you're trying to get into the story and doing those things. Let those loops run. Let them run. Let that ambience kind of feel. But try to stay away from loops that are super short or have distracting sounds in them that are just going to play over and over and over again. Use those loops wisely. They're great and you want them, but use them wisely. Lastly, and this is my favorite tip, silence is powerful. Pausing the music at the right moment is an incredible way to build tension. It's an incredible way to show the seriousness of a moment. If it's the first time that they've met the big bad and all this ambiance and everything that's been happening stops, man, there's nothing better than that. Use silence. Use it. It's powerful. Can't beat it. All right, here is my top tip for adding music and sound effects into your game, and that is use subtle sound effects to enhance the game. Things like howling wind or distant thunder, or even my favorite, heartbeat sounds, create an intense scene. These tiny details are the unforgettable things that your players will talk about forever. So there you have it. 3 incredible options for where to find music and sound effects for your next D&D session. Whether you decide to go with Tabletop Audio, Monument Studios, or something interactive like Syrinscape, your D&D sessions will never be the same. And hey, if you want a good example of what using music and sound effects looks like in something like a podcast, check out the 20 Sides podcast. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts, here on YouTube, really anywhere. And yes, we use Tabletop Audio. We also use Monument Studios, so you'll be able to see those live and in action there. Make sure that you subscribe, you like this video, and share it with your DM. If you're not a DM, if you are a DM, share it with your players so that they can kind of see what some of that looks like. And we will see you next time right here on 20 Sides.